New video to our monitors now. The search for survivors among rubble and destruction in the heart of Beirut. Lebanon's health ministry says Israeli airstrikes killed 22 people and injured over 100 more. Rescue and clearing operations are well underway. The blast reportedly meant for a senior Hezbollah official. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken departed Laos, where he attended the ASEAN, U.S. and East Asia summits. Before then leaving, he had this to say about the conflict in Lebanon, expressing support for Israel's rights to defend itself and the Lebanese people.
When the horror of October 7th happened, the next day, Hezbollah joined in, trying to create another front. In the process, the rockets and other munitions that they were launching into northern Israel forced people to flee from their homes. And some 70,000 Israelis have had to leave their homes. Similarly, in southern Lebanon, because Israel responded to these attacks from Hezbollah, you have many people who had to leave their homes. This is well before the last few weeks. This is what happened over the last year. And we all have a strong interest in trying to help create an environment in which people can go back to their homes and live there safely and securely, and kids can go back to school. So Israel has a clear and very legitimate interest in doing that. The people of Lebanon want the same thing. We believe that the best way to get there is through a diplomatic understanding, one that we've been working on for some time and one that we're extremely focused on right now. Now, Israel has a right to defend itself against terror attacks coming from Hezbollah, from Hamas, from anyone else. But it's also vitally important that in doing that, they focus on making sure that civilians are protected and, again, are not being caught in a terrible crossfire.
Meanwhile, in Gaza, an agreement has been reached to pause fighting to allow for a second round of polio vaccinations targeting 590,000 children under the age of 10. CBS News digital international reporter Haley Ott with the very latest from that region.
The UN says it's going to begin the second phase of polio vaccinations for hundreds of thousands of children in Gaza next week, though officials in charge of the operation say they're concerned about complications caused by fighting in the north. The first case of polio in Gaza in 25 years was registered in August. The UN delivered the first doses of the vaccine during a series of humanitarian pauses last month, but Israel has since escalated its operations in northern Gaza. Officials say at least 90% of children need to be fully vaccinated in order to ensure polio doesn't spread. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, the country's prime minister says all of the 22 people killed in an Israeli airstrike in central Beirut were civilians. It was the biggest airstrike on the city center since the start of Israel's operation there, and the UN peacekeeping force in southern Lebanon said 2 more of its peacekeepers were wounded in explosions today, after 2 were injured yesterday when a position was fired on by an Israeli tank. Finally, in Israel, Jewish people began marking the Yom Kippur holiday, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. Extra security measures were put in place by a number of synagogues, including stationing armed guards outside and allowing people to keep cell phones inside to get possible alerts about rocket attacks. Back to you.
Haley Ott, thanks so much.